The book of Tobit, it was taken out of the Bible. It is a window into a numbering pattern that is used in Abrahamic material that is a wonderful place to go look. I just took a gander at it. It is very tight, but it's right there. It's demonstrable. It's visible. I can show this to you. It's not some magical claim, nothing supernatural here. My name is Dan Paulson. I'm an independent researcher, and I've been searching for the patterns in the Bible, what they are. In fact, all myth and religion's antiquity, there's templates in place. I finally got behind the curtain with Abrahamic material and this numbering pattern, and it's in the book of Tobit. What is the book of Tobit? Let's talk about that for a second. I said it was taken out of the Bible. Let me be clear. When we go and read this stuff right here, the book of Tobit and the Apocrypha were never a part of the Bible. People get that confused. I get people telling me all the time, the Bible has been modified. There were books taken out of it. Marcion had the book pretty well completed before the Council of Nicaea and their work to finalize it. It pretty much ended up the same as what he had. That was the canon. There were other books from antiquity, books of Tobit, Sirach, things like that, Esdras, that were available, and they, at a printing, put them in the Bible. They were not added as part of the canon. They were just added in the Bible. Here's some other stuff that goes. There are other stuff about God and Jesus and things that they don't quite fit with the religion, but it's all from that same era, and they're talking about God, so yeah, let's throw it in there. And then that got taken out. So there were things put in and taken out that were never part of the church authorized canon of the Holy Bible. So let's be clear about that. Yes, things were taken out, but the stuff that was taken out was stuff that was put in after the fact as well. So let's read up on that and see what we have. I downloaded this from a site called KingJamesBibleOnline.org, and you can just go there and boy, they've got it set. It's a great place to actually just copy and paste from and get the information you need. Okay, what do we have here? The Apocrypha is a selection of books which were published in the original 1611 King James Bible. Okay, and Tobit here is a part of that Apocrypha. These apocryphal books were positioned between the Old and the New Testament. It also contained maps and genealogies. The Apocrypha was a part of the King James Version for 274 years until being removed in 1885 AD. A portion of these books were called deuterocanonical books by some entities such as the Catholic Church. Okay, that right there is misleading if you read that. You got to be careful. It says it was part of the King James Version for 274 years until being removed in 1885. It was added in the King James Version and taken out. It was not a part of the biblical canon. It was not a part of the religion. They were just along for the ride. That's what was taken out, okay? Many claim the Apocrypha should never have been included in the first place, raising doubt about its validity and believing it was not God-inspired, for instance. A reference about magic seems inconsistent with the rest of the Bible. Tobit, chapter 6, verse 5 through 8. Well, apparently they haven't read about Moses on Mount Horeb calling and getting his staff, or talking snakes and a donkey. Others believe it is valid and that it should never have been removed, that it was considered part of the Bible for nearly 2,000 years before it was recently removed a little more than 100 years ago. Some say it was removed because of not finding the books in the original Hebrew manuscripts. Others claim it wasn't removed by the church, but by printers to cut costs in distributing Bibles in the United States. So yeah, we got some, nobody knows why. Both sides tend to cite the same verses that warn against adding or subtracting from the Bible. The word Apocrypha means hidden. Fragments of Dead Sea Scrolls dating back to before 70 AD contain parts of the Apocrypha books in Hebrew, including Sirach and Tobit. Keep this in mind when reading the following apocryphal books. Martin Luther said Apocrypha, that is, books which are not regarded as equal to the Holy Scriptures and yet are profitable and good to read. Okay, so I appreciate him saying that. Yeah, Martin Luther, he's the one that put his, what was it, 95, 96 thesis, I don't recall, on he started the Protestant Reformation. And but for him to say, yeah, you should read more stuff is a lot different than people today saying, don't read anything else. It's wrong. It's taken out. It's evil. It's sinful. Yeah, people really just say all kinds of stuff without knowing what's really there. Okay, let's talk about this numbering pattern for a second. What I want to do is just pop this up right here and show you numbers that are in green and in red. It's not a complete collection, but it's fairly close. That top row of green numbers, the 1 through 90, those have all been collected in an elaborate process in Genesis. There are lineages up there that are just goofy. Someone lived 900 years and 15 and had so-and-so. Someone lived 807 years and things like that are going on. And you see those 7s, 12s, 20s, 30s, 40s appear there. They also appear down in the Sodom analog farm. 50 is said 4 times, 40 is said 3 times, 5 is said 3 times. There's this numbering system that if you took that completely out of the Bible, it wouldn't even change the story. It looks like it was just dropped in, plugged in. Here's some numbers. 3-7. It's a 3-7 grid, I call it, for lack of anything else. But this is all, it's actually what I would call story code built into the story. The way it works is this. Once you establish what those number patterns are and whether they're good or bad, if you know the story well enough now, you would know how many times in that story the nouns and verbs have been repeated. Exactly. That sounds weird, but we're going to go look at that. Right up here we see a list that I've started. Wine, nakedness, naked. Nakedness was said 5 times right after the flood with Noah. Naked was said 3 times. That's when Adam and Eve were naked, unashamed in the Garden of Eden. Righteous is said 7 times right there at the analog farm for the Sodom one. That's what introduces, would you destroy it for the sake of 50 righteous? If there were 50 righteous within the city? No, not for 50 righteous. I would not destroy it for 50 righteous. It's almost like a Dr. Seuss sounding read going on there. You look at count the numbers. That's the code right there. Righteous was said 7 times, and it points to all of these other numbers. You keep gathering them up, and guess what? They're pointed to elsewhere. So that's where this number pool comes from. I've got other videos up on how that's done. It's a long, elaborate process. So the 7s go out, the 7 and 3 goes out and grabs other numbers. And it'll do it in multiple layers. 800 is said 7 times. So that means the 800 takes on the role of the 7 in each one of those, and it's gathering up a 12, a 20, 17, whatever the case may be. If you go look, you'll just see that. Those are not real. People don't live 800 years, 900 years, 700 years. Look at the numbers with them. They're not compound. Now, from this pool, we can add them together. You can have a 21, which is actually a step up to a bad thing. In fact, just look at the list of names underneath. If you knew the book of Genesis well enough, you would know that the word Sodom has been repeated exactly 21 times. That gives it its weight, its value as an analog. In fact, you see also on there, I've got the Lamech. Lamech married 2 wives, Zillah and Adah. This is an inward path. Lamech is said 10 times, Zillah is said 3 times, Adah is said 8 times. As we follow a path, there's going to be a good direction and a bad direction, and the numbering pattern in the background will tell us that, but nobody today knows the Bible that well. Well, I have to use the computer. The step from 7 to 8 is the step to first sin. Then as far as the template goes in the numbering sequence, it steps up from a 7 to an 8. 7 is naked, unashamed in the Garden of Eden, 7 and 3. 8 is first sin. 12 represents that same starting point, so 13 represents first sin. 20 represents that starting point, so 21 represents first sin. It does not continue doing that, and I don't have it all complete. But these 22 numbers right here, these 22 green numbers, appear over 6,000 times in the Bible. And I only know this by going and looking there, but Noah's name is repeated 41 times here. That's how you read this stuff, and I even remember as a kid going, my gosh, this stuff is so weird. Why do they keep saying Noah, and God called Noah, and Noah got in the boat, and Noah had 3 kids, and Noah this, and Noah, as you're like, I think we know it's Noah. Noah's name, guess what, is repeated exactly 41 times. That's the code. That's the code right there. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Count me. Or have me memorized. All right, then you go back to the Babylonian creation epic, the Enuma Elish. The called hero there, well, we had Noah 41. Back there previously was Marduk. And wouldn't you know it, his name is said 41 times. You can add zeros to them. You can have, and Job has 7 sons, 3 daughters, 5,000 sheep, 5,000 goats, something else, some animals. You can add stuff to them, but all the numbering pattern is going to be starting from this sequence. You can also add them together. This is very simple, actually. You could have like maybe a 20 and a 3. Maybe something is repeated 23 times. What you're doing is you're really mixing it up and making it more mentally difficult, but in a time where this is what they were doing for their media, for their days. They didn't have power. Imagine having nothing to do all day. Just talk to people. No, this is very complex. I think we're the ones that have lost it. All right, so that's how I see this working. If we were to go to any book in the Bible, we're going to find this numbering pattern. We will even find numbers repeated that repeat themselves. Look at the 7, look at the 3, the 7, and the 12 right there. Again, these are established. That's a 7-3 grid, and that 12 is picked up by, I can't recall, in it's the Adams analog farm. And those numbers, let's go to the book of Matthew very quickly, and I'm going to show you something. All right, what I'm going to do is show you a couple of things very quickly. This is kind of a secret pattern here. Matthew, King James Version. This is we are carrying this. We do not know it. We have no clue. But watch what happens if you just treat it in a certain way right here. What I'm going to do is take these names that I have that you see highlighted right there. I've got the David, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Judas. But first, I'm going to go over here to the navigation bar, and let's take a look for those numbers. 3. 3 is repeated 12 times in the book of Matthew. 7 is repeated 12 times. 12 is repeated 12 times. What were those names up here? David. David is repeated 17 times. 17 is one of our numbers. 17 is how many times Sarai's name is repeated. Abraham, 7 times, 3-7 grid. Abraham's a good thing. Isaac. 4. Isaac's a good thing. We need to have a bad element somewhere in the beginning up here. We'll keep looking. Jacob. 6. Jacob's good. Judas. Sounds like maybe. 8 times. There we have it. Judas 8 times. That's our bad. I'm going to stop right there and just say that this is the pattern that you're going to see everywhere in Abrahamic material if you knew it well enough. You got to sit at the computer and do this. And by that, I don't mean that you're going to find 3 said 12 times, 7 said 12 times, 12 said 12 times, and all of the other ones. You're going to find other variations of the same thing. You're still going to find things cross-referencing. It might be like, 6 said 20 times, or you get to Galatians, you're going to find 41 again. The Lord is said 41 times. So there's patterns that are going to be really, they're difficult to see, but someone in the background would know if there's a certain pattern that you're building the story off of. You're just using that template right there. So there's a template that we're actually finding here that is underneath the stories, that is framing the stories, carrying the stories. No, the stories carry the template. The template frames the story. Okay, I got a handful of regular viewers that are on board with this, but I had to stop and explain that as we get into this here. What I have up now, actually, let me make sure I get rid of this. So here I have just the book of Tobit, 1 through, what do we have here? I'm not that familiar with it. 23 chapters, all the way down to the last verse, 15. All right, what I've got right off the bat here is I know that they're going to be utilizing that pattern. There's going to have to be a bunch of good stuff up here for a start, but somewhere in this process there is going to be a bad. There's going to be one of these are going to turn into that red zone, into the 8, 13, something like that. And you'll have to stick with me to see this. And again, you might just look at it and go, wow, that's weird. I don't know what it is. Okay, I do know what it is, but that's why I'm able to show it to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through, you see where I've got a bunch of them highlighted. I've just gone through and grabbed a handful of words that stick out. I could grab over and over. See, there's one I went into, Media. Media is a city. That's a fun one. It really is. I grabbed alms, death, meat, Lord, poor, grave, sorrow, name Edna, angel. Okay, I've got a list of names here that we're just going to take then and go do a word search and see what shows up. All right, let's check our list of names. If we had this deeply memorized, we would know this in our heads, or we could know it in our heads if we knew to look. We don't know it well enough. We definitely do not. All right, book. 2 times. Okay, that fits the criteria. Words. Twice. Okay. Again, we're just going to be looking for patterns here. and make sure that everything fits on our... Well, we're looking to make sure that everything fits on our list. Tobit. 23. Combination of 20 and 3. Sun. 62. Combination of 60 and 2. There should be a bunch of ones. Kind of a beginning sort, something. Tobil. Okay, there's one. Ananiel. Just a one time. Aduel. Just a one. Gabael. Eight times. Okay, there we have it. You see we have a bad element beginning up here. There's going to be a 13 or an 8 or a city or a name of somebody that is repeated 8 times or 13 times or something like that, that's always going to be a part of this header up here. Seed. It won't be the only bad one throughout the story, but it is here. Seed, we're good. Asael. Just a one. Tribe. Tribe's important. 10. There we go. Yep, tribe is a good way to go. Naphtali. Five. Time. 7. I'm going to bounce around a little bit. Captive. 4 times. How about a house? 10 times. This is so dialed in that it can't be anything but purposeful, huh? Meat, 7, death, media. Okay, yeah, let's go hit those. Meat. 5 times. 7. Seven is 9 times, which is interesting. Poor. 3. It's good to be poor. Poor in spirit. Lord. 25. That's definitely good. Grave. 6. Media. Remember? The city of Media. Is that a good city or a bad city? This is funny and ironic. 11 is bad. Media is bad. Heart. 9. Rage. 7. Death. 9. Daughter. 20 and 3. 23. Wife. 20 and 6. That's good. What about woman? Typically different. 2. Interesting. Remember, there was Edna. 7 times. Edna's a good woman. Well, let's just stop there. I think that we could keep... all I would do is just keep showing that it continues to do that. So what that tells me right there is that it tells me what? That there's something bigger going on than the religion and whether or not it fits with the religion. What I see here is something in this book that doesn't quite fit the criteria of what would be a religion that people would believe in. It becomes something that's like, okay, becomes mythology. You have to get rid of a lot of details in order to create a religion that's going to be something that's based in supernatural and that's going to work in the mind of, well, superstitious minds, really. Honestly, people that readily believe things. But the more data you have, the more information you have, the less it is easy to believe something. All right, so a lot of things are out. If you were to look at, for example, Gnostic material at the time that the Romans, the whole occupation there when the Jesus material was emerging and all of that. There's a point there where there's a lot of teachings that are coming out that are based on this template. So you know that people know this. All the Gnostic material is based on this template, and it will follow this numbering pattern in the same way, which tells me what? Communities of people are writing these stories, but somebody is isolating them out and getting rid of the ones that don't sound the best for the religion. The ones that are the most oriented towards a focused belief system are what's left online, while the other ones that are teaching the same, that are built on the same template, but the outer shell sounds different, is what it is, okay? The story of Exodus is built on the same template as the voyage of the Argo. Which one of them are you going to worship, and which one are you going to enjoy as an adventurous movie? Both of them are made on the same template. The stories sound so much different, but if you were to look at them conceptually, you would see things. You know, that crossing of the threshold right there, that whole Jason struggles to leave the island of the Amazons and finally gets past them and sails through the clashing rocks, barely making it. Moses struggles to leave Pharaoh behind, but finally gets away and goes through the Red Sea, barely making it. Those are conceptually the same part. The difficulty in crossing the threshold, told in completely different ways, but it's the same template. Here is what those two steps mean. If you knew that meant that in my life, if I'm going to go heal myself, I have to turn inward to my memories, and it's going to be that's crossing of the threshold right there. What is this difficulty in leaving? Yeah, leaving the past, leaving the habits, moving along, moving away from where you come from, emerging from these roots that you're stuck in to get beyond. Or to leave habits or relationships or something that you know are bad, but you keep getting sucked back into them over and over again. This is represented in the stories. I can't get past this over here. Come up with something that shows that. And then it's a very difficult passageway to get into there. Yeah, this is where the rape and the molestation and the hate and all the other stuff resides that nobody gets to go to see. That's why it's so tough. When you know that that's what you're looking for in the story, it's easier to spot what they're doing. So for me, in doing my best to try and understand this material here, you get to a point where you look and it looks like every time, once you understand it's an inward path and it's for you to take, everybody that's trying to teach that very closely, this is an inward path that's for you to take, that material gets pushed away in favor of you relinquish this, you don't turn inward, you turn outward. You turn outward and you relinquish to the God that's out there. You don't turn inward to the God up here. So, the vast majority of people are going to do that. So if you want that religion to travel and to have an influence in the population, you write it the way it is, and you get rid of the things that show that it's something different. But this numbering pattern, nobody has ever gotten rid of that. We just don't know it. We don't see it. At a time long ago when it was memorized and they lived their lives through this material, they had a handle on it. Today, people worship it. They don't know what's inside. This is the metaphorical ark. We're looking inside of it now. Okay, so the numbering pattern is something that was very well established at one point in time, and it is the story code. It helps navigate the story in the psyche, but you cannot treat the thing as literal. If you do, you're lost to what is in the interior. Also, if you're somebody that says, no, it didn't happen at all, it's just complete baloney, there's nothing to it, you're also unaware of what there is inside of there. There is something that is neither theism nor atheism. It's the path to the truth. And when I say truth, I mean demonstrable truth, not like a theist saying objective morality proves God exists. I'm not talking about somebody's claim that the only reason they don't rape their children is because God exists. That's not proof. Proof means, yes, oxygen exists. Here, let me shove my head underwater for 20 minutes and that'll be the end of it. Everybody else will know. I won't. I'll be gone. But yeah, we can prove things. What I'm doing is proving in number system, not just making claims. This becomes difficult. I tried to talk with theists, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. They don't know what I'm doing. they get right off the bat, it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Start asking things about numbers, and one guy even said, what, are you getting something from some sort of an atheist website or something? And it's like, dude, it's how many names? Yeah, it's the Bible. So the guy's literally reasoning with me, telling me that the questions that I'm asking have absolutely nothing to do with Christian doctrine, and he will explain to me what Christian doctrine is. I'm like, which one of the 45,000 denominations have you made it yours? Yeah, they don't know. There's a point where this is the deal. You understand that it's a verbal puzzle. They think it's literal, and as soon as something doesn't sound right, they don't even want to look at it. Their own material, they won't look at it because it doesn't make sense. Not if you treat it like it's true. How does a son die inside their dad? Things like that. And people that don't look at that and then they're forced to, they'll get slap flat pissed off at you for asking them questions that are in the Bible, telling you you're full of it. That's what happens to the kid in church saying, I got questions, and you're finally told, shut up and get out. You're asking too much. That's what happens. And that's why books like Tobit and all the rest of them, it's like those are showing too many things. We have to get rid of them. We need to make sure everybody only knows this right here. That's how the religion is going to be maintained as a mechanism that keeps society and evolving society online. But at this point in time, I see society over-evolving, and the religion is now turned into what it is. It's a demonization process, among other things. As long as I believe this and you're not, I'm good, you're bad. Boom, it's presto. It's done. It's an evil mechanism for humanity. It's a good mechanism for tribes. But at some point, the tribe doesn't know that we live on one fucking planet. All right, well, that's it. The numbering pattern is everywhere, and it shows a lot more than whether or not Tobit should or shouldn't be there. In fact, what Tobit shows is what is in Abrahamic material everywhere that emerged from Babylonian material, because this numbering pattern starts, well, it might even start before then, but it was in place in the Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation epic, before Genesis even came online. And then Genesis used 41 times for Noah, the same way that Marduk was used 41 times. This is not a religious competition. Somebody in the background knows a bigger picture. They're not Jews. They're not Babylonians. They're not Christians. They're humans that know humans are too screwed up to live without this. And here we are, stuck with it. Let's look at another one. Bel and the Dragon. This is an apocryphal story. Look at it is 42 verses only. One chapter, 42 verses. That's all it is. Now, let's take a look at things again here. We've got Astyages, fathers, Cyrus, Persia, kingdom, Daniel, Babylon's, idol, Bel, 12, fine flour, 40 sheep, 6 vessels of wine. Do you see the 40 and the 6 there? Those are the ones you call in your face. Those are right up front. 40, where did that first show up? In 7 days it'll rain for 40 days and 40 nights, so in 7 days it did rain for 40 days and 40 nights. There was the code to gather up to 40. We got the 40 sheep still happening down here, the 6 vessels of wine. Actually, the first time it appears in Genesis is right here with one of the 800s. Well, 800 is one of those numbers that you go, what is that? And you realize it being repeated 7 times is serving as a 7. And also, if you were to look, you would see over here, if you check the entire book of Genesis, 40 is also repeated exactly 15 times. So that cross-referencing is always happening. We don't know it. And, okay, our 12 is there. Let's just start searching for a few of these things. I'm going to go with, I don't know how to say it, Astyages. I'll just say it so literally it's crazy. Just a one time. What about king? 32, but we got kingdom in there. One time. And I'll put a space in front, make sure we don't have any baking or anything like that. 32. King is said 31 times then. 31. I don't see that number show up, but if it steps, I don't see it anywhere. But if it steps from a 30 up, then it would be a negative thing. I'm going to call it a I don't know because of unfamiliarity. Father. 1. Cirrus. 1. Persia. 1. Kingdom is 1. Next is Daniel. That's me. 27. Combination of 20 and 7. So this story is, I'm the called hero here. You're Daniel. Converse. Just a 1. Idol. 2. But the idol's name was Bel, B-E-L. 13. There we have it. So we've got our negative appearing up here. There's going to be a negative number count. And of course, you can often look at the analog. I goof around with it, but it was, what did we see in Matthew there? It was Judas was going to be bad. Here we got an idol, Bel, that's going to be bad. So it's kind of in your face in a way. Babylon's. 6. Babylon. See, this should say the Babylonians. The Babylons. Well, maybe not. They've got it. I don't know what to do with it. But, okay, so you can see as you go through here, you just go, wow, they're following a pattern. We don't know that the pattern is there. But if you look and look and look, you start seeing it emerge. If you made it this far, let's jump back to Ezekiel. I want to show you that it's happening all through Abrahamic material. It was developed in Genesis. It is in all Abrahamic material, and here we see it in King James version of Ezekiel. You can see I've got some things highlighted here. 30th, 4th, 5th. Those are in our face. There's our numbers. 30, 4, 5th. That's all good. The 5th day of the month with the 5th year of King Jehoiakim's captivity. All of those 5s, 4, even 5th is said 3 times right here within these verses. 30th, 4th, 5th, 5th, 5th. So there's all that pattern. It should be really visible right there. Now it came to pass in the 4th month as I was among the captives by the river Chebar. So let's go over here and take a look at captives. 3. Captive seems to be an okay thing. But the river Chebar, that's something we have to cross. There you look at that. 8 times. Any doubts? Probably so. So, you know what? I jumped over to 1 Samuel, King James Version. Since we're up here rolling, I'll just keep showing all the things I'm learning here. Do you see there's a point up here where there's a man named Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, and he had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. Does that sound familiar? Elkanah had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. If we go back to Genesis, and this is verse 19 in chapter 4. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of the one was Adah, and the name of the other was Zillah. Those should sound incredibly alike. And we covered this earlier. The Lamech was what? Lamech is got options here. Lamech is a pure self, a good person that has 2 wives. The name of one was Adah. 8. And the other was Zillah. 3. So we see good and then a good-bad split. From a good start, we have an option of a good direction or a bad direction is what's happening right there. Now, if we go back to Samuel, we're going to see Elkanah, and he had 2 wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. Let's go take a look, and we're going to see that Elkanah is 8. Elkanah is going to be instead of Lamech being good, Elkanah is bad. And he had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah. $13. Do we know what to do with 13? Sure we do. And the other Peninnah. There we go. Peninnah 3. Peninnah's even said, you see the other Peninnah, and Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. They're even repeating the names right up within here, which are, that's part of the code. It could have said the name of one was Hannah, who had no children, and the other was Peninnah, who did have children. But they wrote it in such a way that Hannah was repeated twice and Peninnah was repeated twice. Peninnah, we know that is what? All right, so now we have a bad that has option of going good or bad. You will never be able to unsee that from here on out. All right. I don't know. I wish people could see this. All right. I just needed to get off of Genesis for a little bit. See you in the next video.